We're both bald now. Last time we saw me, I had hair, I think. So, are we ready to go?
Yeah, that's on camera for you for your private.
Yeah,
Fantastic. Well, I don't edit it. Spank bangs. We were already in there. So, hi everyone. I'm very, very excited to be here with Michael. Do you want to just give us a quick intro?
No.
Okay, so sweet. Michael Dorfer from the Four Thieves Vinegar Collective, or Four Vinegar Thieves Collective?
Four Thieves Vinegar.
Four Thieves Vinegar. So Four Thieves Vinegar is basically one of the first medtech biohacks. Would you say that?
One of the first, yeah, sure.
So basically this is during the Black Plague. There's some thieves that would break in when someone had died and go through their stuff and take it, and they would protect themselves from the plague by making a DIY prophylactic, which was made from vinegar.
Indeed, it was a vinegar decoction of herbs, yeah. It was a sort of an early form of antimicrobial.
Now, why would you pick this as the title of what you're doing?
Well, the magic is in the last part of the story, where they were caught. And the magistrate said, well, you have two choices. Either we're going to execute all of you, or you can tell us how you did this so we can keep people safe from the plague.
Oh, okay.
And as a result, many people did not die of the plague because of the free sharing of information.
Fantastic. And that leads into to what you're doing now.
Yes,
which
they
is...
feel like a spiritual ancestor.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, that's great. Now, you've done some big things as well. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, which is things in a very similar vein. So, you were doing EpiPencil?
Yeah.
Do you want to run us through? So you might be familiar with the EpiPen, which is when someone's anaphylactic, the only thing that will save them is a shot of adrenaline.
In the leg, not in the heart, but yeah.
I've been watching too much Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. And you don't want to do that usually.
Yeah. Why is there a need for an EpiPencil if there's an EpiPen?
Because they're too expensive.
So I'm from Australia, where we have socialized healthcare. So
yeah, civilized country. I've been there. It's nice.
Yeah, sometimes.
Why are you here? My God.
Yeah, I got a bag full of EpiPens, just in case. Well, there's actually a lot here. So for all our socialized healthcare and stuff, our social healthcare is being eroded. There's a lot of things that they call elective surgery.
Ooh.
Now, elective surgery.
Hello. I am here for that. Thank you.
Elective surgery is basically...
We're recording. Give us just space.
Elective surgery is when it's not a life-threatening condition.
Uh-huh.
So if you've got a broken leg, but you won't die from it, that might be considered elective.
The version of this that's American is there was a story of a woman who walked out of, I believe, the elevated train in New York, stepped between the platform and the car, broke her leg, compound fracture.
Yeah.
Her bone is sticking out of her leg, literally, and she's screaming.
Yeah.
In pain?
Yeah.
No. For help? Absolutely not. She was screaming, "Don't call an ambulance. I can't afford it."
Oh boy. Yeah.
Welcome to America.
Okay. Yeah. So I think the in Australia we're definitely on our way there. There was the social security has been eroded to the point that older people who are on pensions would call an ambulance and say they had heart problems so they could afford to get to the supermarket because the social health care was working better than the other things. So yeah, I think there's problems
Reverse
everywhere.
trade-off.
Yeah, maybe you can make it a nice little app, and if people were going there, they could take your grandma along with them. So I think that community power is definitely a solution to a lot of this stuff now. Okay, you've done some other projects that I want to cover quickly. You took a project that came out of MIT that I fucking love and we haven't seen enough of. This was you basically give it a chemical to start with and a chemical you want to finish with.
Yeah, Chemhactica, we just posted a video about that this morning on how to make Vyvanse. A lot of people came yesterday and were asking specifically how to make Vyvanse. So this morning before we got to the conference, we ran through how to use the software, did Vyvanse specifically, and posted it. So thank all of you who came in and asked about that. It's up there and you can do it, and the service is live. So just go to the Four Thieves Vinegar site and you can do your own or whatever other drug you might want to make.
And this highlights one important point I just want to add, which is papers don't solve problems. It's really great that universities and colleges will generate data and generate cool software and programs, but unless it's in the hands of the people, it's fucking useless, right?
Not only it needs to be in the hands of the people, but it needs to be in the hands of the people in a format that is digestible.
That's right.
And so if somebody came up to me and said, how do you make Vyvanse? And I could say, oh, here's the patent. Most people aren't going to get a lot from that because it's so encoded in sort of this jargon-tastic.
It's a magical manuscript.
Yeah,
Right.
it is. And additionally, it is often, again, if you talk about academic literature, typically it's not this is how you make it.
Yeah.
It's this is how I made
Yeah,
it.
that's right.
Which can vary drastically based on what resources you have and what your personal bent is and what you're good at. So it can
Also,
vary
what you can
dramatically.
afford, what's available in the laboratory. Sometimes entire protocols have been enshrined for 30, 50 years actually, because that's what was within reach, and it did the job. And these people understand it on a level that everyone else doesn't.
And so one of the things is that in Chemhactica, not only will it show you how to create a synthesis pathway, but additionally, you can create parameters. So if you say there's a precursor that's too expensive, that's something you can just set and say, if something is more than $10 a gram, eliminate it from my search.
Beautiful.
You can also say, don't have anything with any heavy metal catalysts. If
Okay.
you're trying to make medicine, right?
Yeah.
That's a big no-no.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of other parameters you can tweak. So if you're trying to make something, you can not only make it, but make it within the scope of what's possible for you.
Now, there's another project you were working on at one point, which was like an AED.
Yeah.
So the way you described it to me was, if you've ever seen these things work, it's like magic. Someone drops down dead, you hit them with the clear, boom, panels, and they're alive again.
So in the case of ventricular tachycardia or ventricular fibrillation, if somebody gets a defibrillator on them quickly enough, they just wake up and say, why am I on the floor?
Wow.
It is like magic. It is one of
Yeah.
the closest things to just like, however, if 9 minutes goes by,
Yeah.
you're dead. And
Wow,
so
yeah.
the difference between life and death is how long does it take between when you or I slump over and somebody manages to get to an AED and get back. And that's why nice hotels have them in the lobby.
Yeah.
That's why very expensive corporate headquarters have them on every floor. But the reality is everybody should have them in their house.
Yeah, of course. Like 9 minutes is not
9
long.
minutes is not long.
But like, even in the back of your car or connected to a car, like,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
this is like, if you can think, what am I always within 9 minutes of? You could save so many lives. And governments are so concerned about things that, like a terrorist attack or like
Right.
drugs and like these.
No, the things that are killing people are car accidents
Yeah.
and lack of medicine.
Yeah, that's
so like maybe we should do something about that.
That's right.
Want to talk about this one?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So in Australia, we have a pretty socialized healthcare system.
Again,
We-
civilized country. Go to Australia.
Yeah, well, we allow a lot of stuff. Like we've
now.
we've recently opened up euthanasia as probably the most recent thing. So medically assisted dying.
Oh, I'm friends with Philip Nishka.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
it's something in Australia which people care a lot about too. Like
Hi, Philip.
hopefully you watch this. And it was not as controversial as you'd think. One thing that's never really been an issue too much was termination of pregnancy, but it is something which has been like debated but gets smacked down. But in America, that's not allowed anymore.
Kinda not. Yeah, it's difficult. And if
Certain
you can't get it,
states-
it's expensive. Yeah.
I just want to say on this note, treating a fetus like a person just opens up so many bad regulatory things. Like if a woman has, or if a person with uterus has a miscarriage, they can be charged for murder or manslaughter. It's like it's a whole nightmare. I think that we should be really sensible about the way we approach these things. And Peter Singer is like, he reckons we should be able to terminate babies up until 2 years old.
Well, I heard it put very well once, which is there are 4 reasons why people with uteruses get abortions.
Yeah.
None of your fucking business.
Yeah.
None of your fucking business. None of your fucking business, and none of your fucking business.
Oh, yeah. That seems reasonable.
And I think that covers everything.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it really does.
So,
Yeah, and I think as a man, like when I was growing, like, growing up and like being in positions where I was like, oh, what if I get someone pregnant and stuff like this, I was like, oh, I should have some say over this outcome and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, my say is before it happens, right? So,
Yeah.
and part of me growing up
you get
was
to
like,
make your own decision.
that's right. You do. You really fucking do. So, anyway, so after this point, you've been. Do you want to talk about like what you've been doing with Four Thieves now?
Yeah, so it's very well known, very old technology. It only takes some micrograms of misoprostol, and you take 3 doses of it, and that should take care of it. And we were playing around with the idea because one of the problems is that people try to ship pills around. It's a rigid object, so when you send it through the mail, it gets detected, or the pills get crushed, and people get nervous about that. But interestingly enough, because there's so little of it,
of course,
most of that pill and most of any dose is just binder, and that's hydroxypropylmethyl cellulose. I mean, it's a cellulose type, right?
Yeah.
So you get the raw powder, it's 1% miso, and the rest is hydroxypropylmethyl cellulose.
Yeah.
So you put that in a suspension of alcohol, just Everclear.
Oh, yeah.
And then you just take a pipette and put 3 dots on a business card. And we made a bunch.
Oh, wow. So this is just a business card. It's thin.
So that can go through the mail.
And you can
Totally
hand this to
undetected.
someone.
You can put it in a book.
You just hand it to me. Oh,
Leave
of course,
it in the Bible, in the pews, wherever you go to church.
Munch down on your passport.
Yeah. And just slide anywhere.
That's really clever. So, and I think there's
you can keep that if you want.
thank you very much. Hi TSA. Now, so is there anything exciting that you're working on at the moment that's new that you want to talk about, or anything you'd like people in Australia to know about?
Keep fighting for your access, because as he points out, once it starts eroding, that's a train that's very difficult to turn around.
Yeah.
So we're working on a lot of stuff. We just released a whole bunch of new tools. We have a new version of the Microlab. It's easier to build, no soldering required.
Yeah.
There's a new online service that we have called the Recipe Press. So once you have a synthesis pathway, once you pull that out of Chemhactica, you have a graphical user interface, so you can design a file that the Microlab will run.
Yeah.
And
So people can download the recipe to turn X into Y.
you can share recipes with your
Beautiful.
friends. You figure something out, put it up on the torrents.
And this is a really huge part of innovation, is innovation that breeds more innovation.
That is the goal.
Yeah.
And that's what's so critical. Like, we're very happy with the things that we've done, but what's much more important is all the things that are yet to be done by people who aren't us.
Yeah.
And so all of these tools are designed to make it so that somebody who has always wanted to create innovations in the medicine space can say, well, now there's a tool that I can afford and I can make it myself, and I don't have to ask anybody's permission.
Yeah, and I think things like this, they actually say, I don't have to ask you for permission to have sovereignty over my own body. If I want to make my own hormones in my kitchen, I don't have to ask for your permission. I can just do this because I'm in control of me. And
it should be like that for everything.
I agree. Yeah.
And one of the reasons we come here is because everybody here gets right to repair.
Yeah.
But we now need right to repair for the body.
Definitely. And I think the tricky thing, and I might just talk about this a little bit now, which is like, I feel very confident that if I made a medication, that I have enough knowledge to understand the risk. But we met at a conference where Aaron Trawick was doing something, and we would all kind of agree that he probably didn't understand the risk, but the thing that he wanted was so great that he just went, I don't really care.
Oh, I think I know to whom we're referring.
Yeah, so, and I think the thing is, one of the things I worry about is...
But this is the thing.
Yeah.
He didn't make it himself.
Yeah,
I think that's the difference.
That's right.
So when you're managing your own health,
Yeah.
and when you make something yourself,
Yeah.
I would argue that nothing could possibly be safer, because you have perfect surveillance of the entire process, top to bottom.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
When you say that you personally would feel safe taking a medicine you make, I'd like to look at the photo negative and ask the question, how safe do you feel when a pharmacist hands you something? Do you know that pharmacist? Do you know where they got those pills? You weren't able to go across the counter and see if they got them out of it. Do you know that that pharmacist stored them correctly?
That's right.
Do you know that they were shipped properly?
Yeah.
Do you
Well-
know from where they were shipped? Do you know
Who did the
how they were
audit of the
manufactured?
lab?
Do you
Right.
know if there was an audit at all?
Yeah, that's right.
And you as a personal private citizen
Yeah.
have no right to any of that information.
Yeah, that's right.
However, if you make your own, you see everything from start to finish.
That's right. And I think that this is a really important point, which is that systems are by nature terrible. They're designed to fail. And most of these systems aren't designed to create good outcomes in the people. They're created to create low risk for the government and good profits for shareholders. And that means that it doesn't matter if they kill someone. It just matters if they kill less people than they profit.
Right, as long as it's and this is one of these things that I think is misread a lot. This is definitely a truth, but a lot of people will look at that and say, "Oh, these companies are immoral." No, they're amoral.
That's exactly
There's
right.
a drastic difference. If it made them more money to keep us all healthy,
Yeah.
well, we'd all be a whole lot healthier.
That's right. Yeah.
They have one thing for which they're optimizing.
That's right.
And that's the only thing that matters. And if you look at it through that lens, they're making the right decision.
Yeah, but that's only because regulation has corralled capitalism to try and create good incentives or outcomes. But the thing is that it's still capitalism at the bottom, right? So you're always going to have some perverse incentive to maximize something that's not necessarily people's happiness or well-being.
Right. So,
So
it's a
in
bummer
short,
at best.
pick up your hammer and sickle, seize the means of production of pharmaceuticals.
Hammer and sickle, pick up a mason jar and some solvents, order some precursors, and do chemistry.
Now, if people want to help out or start a local chapter or something like that, what's the best way for them to get in contact and find out about you? I'll post a link in the description, but is there anything else that they need to know?
Yeah, two things. There's one other tool that I'm trying to get to proliferate. And this tool doesn't require you to build anything. It doesn't require any understanding of chemistry or medicine in general. But the next time that you're faced with a medical officer who tells you that you can't have the medicine that you know you need, you just look them in the eye and you say, if you won't help me, I can go home and make this myself.
Fantastic.
And everybody can use that tool.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to support Fourth Use Vinegar Collective, you can, of course, go to our website. You can get in touch. And if you want to support the cause for which we're working, find somebody that needs your help and help them, whether they deserve it or not.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Michael.
So great to see you.
Likewise, dude.
Let's get out of America.
Yeah.